Hi, my name is Mike Simmons. I advise Tesserae, the yearbook at Corning Penn Post High School in upstate New York. Today, we get to talk about storytelling and about how your ongoing theme development work will manifest in storytelling and coverage opportunities throughout your book. So, you've got an idea, you've got a concept, you've got a story, the words that you're going to use to describe that story, your tagline that's going to feature on the front of your book. You've got your opening copy. That's great, but you've really only just started. I want you to consider the way that theme drives all of the decisions that you'll make about your book and the stories that you choose to tell, the way that you choose to do it. How can your theme manifest as an opportunity to deliver on your storytelling and on your journalism? I like to think of themes like an on-ramp to an interstate. The interstate is that driving message, that forward momentum and that propulsion that gets you from cover to cover. It's your theme, right? That common thread that holds your entire book together. But developed well, a theme can have on-ramps, can provide you as a staff opportunities to deliver on your storytelling and on your journalism. You want to look for ways that you can develop structure, features, recurring coverage devices, even headlines and wordplay that all link back to your theme. So, how can a theme impact structure? You might think about specialty coverage. You might think about mini-mags and small magazines, things that you can tip in, things that you can do that would help you first set apart this year's book from books that you've done in the past, but would help you lean into really unique and compelling coverage opportunities for your storytelling. So I want to look first at the pilot from Redondo Union High School last year. Their theme was Because of You, and the U, Y-O-U, does lean into the fact that they're Redondo Union, capital U, Union High School. The Redondo staff chose to differentiate their book and provide some structure because of their theme in three main areas: because we learn, for academics; because we compete, for sports; because we thrive, for student life and clubs and all the rest. It's a really sensible way to go about developing the book. It goes right to the heart of it, and that because language gives them three natural spin-offs in their sections to deliver on their storytelling. But they went a step further, and it's something that I really love and admire about this staff. They featured three mini-mags throughout the book. It was first entitled You and the World, the first magazine was. The second was You and the Community, and the third was just You, quite simply You. So You and the World, they embrace stories that are very timely for their community and for our nation as a whole and the world that we're living in. Black Lives Matter. They look at opportunities for telling seniors stories about one on the left, this young man's experience of a Korean genocide back in the 1940s and how the ramifications of that have echoed through the generations. And the young woman on the right, how she developed a jewelry company and used it as a platform to build more social awareness. We look at certainly this year's one of the hot topics, and it's kind of the story of the year, if not of your lives, this experience of the pandemic and how teenagers were experiencing the vaccine. In the second mini-mag, You and the Community, they got into, they brought it a little bit closer to home, brought it into the school, and they're looking at how this one teacher helped foster a safe space to have discussions about mental health, about pets, and you know, some of this, we look at Black Lives Matter, we look at mental health, and then we can get to pets. Yeah, absolutely we can. We want our storytelling and our themes to be able to help us tell all of these stories, the really thought-provoking ones and these much lighter ones that absolutely matter just as much. Pets got a lot of people through the pandemic when they were at home. Pen pals and the interaction that students had in writing each other letters, not just texts, but letters through the pandemic as well. And then we get into this You feature on the third one, and we go into deeply personal stories of, again, some mental health coverage here. It was a student that started an Instagram account to have discussions about mental health and their experience of that. A student's diagnosis of having autism, and they have this thing with frogs, and I love how when that came up in the discussion and in the interview, they went after the frogs to document that. It absolutely works. And then one student's experience of being a foster child, and talking about how that cycle of being in and out of homes and in and out of homes, it all ends here. Long form coverage on that. It's absolutely beautiful coverage from Redondo. This is my own student's book, and I want to share with you just a little bit on their theme. They developed be a part and be a part of the whole, this a part and a part, kind of a dual-natured theme with two distinct facets. And what they did in the end sheet and in their planning in the latter was developed a section on people who set themselves apart because of things that they did, activities they were engaged in, choices they made, and then ways that in spite of it all, even though we were at home 3 days a week and at school 2 days a week almost all year long, students still found a way to be a part of something. So you see that in the table of contents over here on the left-hand side, a part and a part. And just briefly, this is what it looked like. It's our 7th year of the building, so they did 7 each of these coverage packages, so 7 individual profiles. This is one of our science teachers who decided to be a candidate for the vaccine trials, a student who's a speed cuber and can solve the Rubik's Cube in just a few seconds flat, a student who's a triathlete, right? Try it and you'll like it. Great headline package design there. Then they went over to the features. All right. And they looked for, and these were presented kind of as a mini mag, as one section. The profiles were spread throughout the book to kind of sustain that coverage. But these features were delivered just as a package, 14 consecutive pages. And it was all different ways, again, that students found a way, in spite of it all, to still be a part of something. And so here we have our Finger Lakes Youth Forum, where they hosted discussions all year long and actually produced a podcast as they investigated questions of social justice and community change and advocacy, things that they wanted to improve in our community. The student, Brooke, front and center, she worked with a group of other student journalists. They did this on their own, independent of any journalism programs at our school, and curated an Instagram feed that helped them shed light on stories that you might not always hear about in our community. And here, a feature on our Winter Guard program and the way that, despite the circumstances, they were able to still rehearse and practice at a distance, and then finally get back to competition this past winter season. So those are some ways that you could think about having a theme develop a structure and help you feature certain kinds of content. There's other aspects of the storytelling that I really want to encourage you to embrace in your theme development. And that's in letting your theme speak on every spread or nearly every spread. It's not that you need to hit your audience over the head with your theme on every spread, but just a hint, just a taste of it throughout to serve as that common thread that binds the entire book and all of your coverage and storytelling together. So that might be exemplified in wordplay and headlines. It could be with consistent coverage devices, or maybe a callback in word to your tagline. Let's look at a couple examples. So this is the book from Summit at Smoky Hill High School, advised by Carrie Faust, who's with us this week. And I love this book. They made a really bold choice and talked about how everything went sideways. Okay, that went sideways, right? This idea of the thing that we were experiencing, just everything went crazy. And so not only did they have a theme statement that used the word sideways, but they actually tipped their book sideways. This book opens up side to side in landscape, not up and down in a portrait orientation like most of the yearbooks that we're going to see out there. And they leaned into this all the way through. Think about okay, that, and went. Look at the wordplay that the Smoky staff brings to it. Here's a detail of their front lid. We get into their title page. Okay, that went sideways, and it's still sideways. And then their opening. Okay, we were expecting different, but let's be honest, it all went sideways. And then they're off and running. All right, looking around, eyes on the ball, a few fall sports get the chance to compete. That's the story. There's that, and here's how that went, right? And they're just activating that language throughout. Here in the kind of the inch-wide coverage device, okay, here's what happened. That became a consistent current events coverage device that the staff used all year long. And over on the far left, it went like this. Service dog, student start working together, right? It went like this. Okay, that went sideways, and okay. No fans, that's okay. And then again, okay, here's what happened. They've got that current events tag right down through there. Okay, We're going remote. See, this isn't repetitive. It's not, I'm not, up on page 65 now rolling my eyes. They're doing it with such a light touch and such a casual inclusion. It just works. And that's when you know that you're really on a great theme that you can play with from cover to cover. Okay, we had no idea you looked like that. What a year it was, right? For, meeting people with the top half of their face only because of masks. Okay, you're going to need these pages. We got to remember how everybody looked. This introduces their reference section. It's great work from the Smoky team. We're going to go down to Texas, the Kodiak Yearbook at Bridgeland High School. I love the casual play they have here. Definitely maybe, right? Definitely maybe. Think about the year that we've all just been through. Definitely maybe. Where can we play with that? Look at kind of that casual, the handwritten and sketched in things. I'm sorry, I'm not going to hug you. How about an elbow bump? That hand sanitizer smells weird. Okay, opening copy. We're kind of setting the stage. Oh, ready or not, here we go. Here's their first divider for first semester, and we get into it. And what I'm looking for, again, is those word hits, just that little speak out of the theme on every spread. It's maybe not the end, maybe surely strong start. All right, we've got some wordplay there. Oh, maybe we can make a difference there in the dominant headline. Surely a step in the right direction. Now, surely not. How about NOCO? NOCO instead of HOCO. I love the jokes here. Definitely taking home the win. They think about definitely, absolutely, surely, maybe, maybe not. There's hits of that. If you saw this entire book, there's hits of that all over the place. The Bridgeland staff, the Kodiak team, absolutely crushed it. Definitely different. Was this election? Absolutely, it was. Could maybe you show your screen? We've all been there, right? The show must go on. No, the show will definitely go on. Definitely there again on definitely maybe. So when it comes to wordplay, one thing that I'd encourage you to do is take some of the keywords from your verbal and plug them into the idioms section of the freedictionary.com. If you just type in the word, I did Carrie's staff's okay, that went sideways. I took that. I just typed that idioms in Google, and it brings me right to the idioms section of the freedictionary.com. Gives you all sorts of phrases that include those keywords. It's a great way to go. Well, why be a storyteller? Something that I really want to emphasize with you is that you're journalists, and these stories, the stories of your classmates, of your school and your community, they're not going to get told by anybody else. The job is yours and yours alone. Now, how do we know that? Well, take a look at the data. This chart shows you from the Brookings Institution the decline of local newspaper subscriptions from 1956 to 2018. And you can see we're at the lowest subscription rate that we've been in the last half century and more, and it's just going down by the day. We have a lot of people living in news deserts where there's only one local newspaper per county or fewer. And so you, as student journalists, and yes, your books are journalism, you as student journalists are going to be the only ones telling the stories of your school and community. Now, yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but please understand, it's going to be worth it. You've got to lean into this, and you've got to focus on it, and you've got to embrace the call, the opportunity that you have to be the journalists of note and record in your communities and tell the stories of your classmates. Now, some people are saying, yeah, but can't we go back to how things were before the pandemic? I've heard this a lot, and I've heard it a bit in reference to yearbooking as well. But from sports to just general stuff out in our communities, people want to go back to the before times. And I would caution you. I want you to think about and consider the fact that no, we really can't, and we really shouldn't. We've all been changed by this experience, and that's not a bad thing. As it goes to our journalism and it goes to our yearbooking, in what ways have we evolved that we can carry that forward into our work in the year and years beyond 2022 to come? Think about this. We could tell different kinds of stories, right? We can tell stories through things and stuff. Sometimes we have students that don't want to be photographed for a story for whatever reason. And my own staff has done this. Oh, they don't want to be photographed. They won't let me take their picture. Fine. They're not going to be in the yearbook. It's kind of a sassy way to approach it. There might be something there. Maybe it's not for us to know, but can we create opportunities for the storytelling even so? Let me give you a couple of examples, right? Here are 4 different books spreads from the class of 2021 yearbooks. from Longmont, us at CPP, McKinney, the Lion down in Texas, and Sierra Middle School there, right? If we can't get the people in the spread, maybe we don't have access to them because we're socially distanced, we're on hybrid learning, or maybe they just don't want to be in the book. There's all sorts of opportunities to still tell compelling, meaningful, and timely stories about the things that they were passionate about, the things they believed in, the things they cared about. We can get those photographs differently or photograph something else entirely and still deliver on that coverage. It might be things and stuff like this with a burger and some drinks there or some masks. It might be a shoes or mascara or a hoodie or a screen capture of somebody with a new iPhone update like this from Westfield Middle School in Indiana. It might be somebody's skateboard or their Lego robotics team. It might be that we had a different Thanksgiving this year and we missed out on the opportunity to bake apple pie with our grandma. Well, when that came up in the interview, my student said, well, they didn't go to Thanksgiving. We don't have photos of them with their grandma. And we said, well, what's the coverage about? Well, it's apple pie. One of our photographers baked an apple pie, photographed it, we dropped it in the book, and then we ate pie. It was great. We didn't have lobster, but we could also tell stories about fitness and athletic training through the items and the objects that are part of those workouts and whatnot. Remember, too, there's lots of ways for us to tell stories. We could go on this kind of journey with the DECA chapter at Brighton High School in Colorado. They were the top DECA chapter in the state, and there are these 5 little pockets of coverage that highlight how that team earned those accolades. We could do this excellent coverage from Longmont again. I love that their team went deep. They went all the way to the Final Four to state in basketball, and they did these little news packages with fantastic sports journalism about stats and percentages and all of this in these 3 coverage packages as they told the story of that journey. The Thomas Jefferson team, Aaron's school, they did this huge poll and got all these students to take sides, taking sides on Star Wars versus Star Trek, or how we do do we prefer waffles, do we prefer pancakes? So they're just these little quick hit stories, right? At our book with Tesserae, our students wanted to tell the story of our county case rates of COVID going up. So we've got kind of this embedded infographic and then the story that narrates how we had to move out to the yellow zone when the governor said our case rates were too high and we had to shut down for 2 weeks. And then, that's a fairly long article. Our students went even longer for a story about the digital divide and how some of our students who live way, way out in rural areas weren't able to fully participate in their lessons and classes because of internet connectivity issues, and they let that story go along. So whether it's these quick hits or the story of a path to the Final Four, or kind of a long burn where you really let the journalism go, there's all sorts of different ways for you to tell a story. 2, remember, the best camera is the one that you have with you. Just briefly, I want to lift up the Wingspan staff at James Enochs High School in California. They did an awesome ongoing package, Humans of Enochs. They featured, I think, 70 students, and they did a boot camp with their yearbook staff to really optimize their work with their cell phones. And all of these images were shot with cell phones throughout the entire package. Just beautiful work. Each yearbook student had to, I think, come up with or interview 5 students and shoot the 5 portraits. And as a package, it's absolutely beautiful. So don't overlook those cell phones. That's definitely a lesson we can take forward with us in the future. And finally, why be storytellers? I want to tell you just a brief personal story. This is my yearbook from 1996, the Echo at Merrimack High School in New Hampshire. I was never a yearbook kid. In fact, you can see me here on the right-hand page, that one with the long hair and the tie-dye. Yeah, that's me. That was 96. This was my grandfather, Bill. He died in 2013, and my aunt had asked me to say some words about Grandpa Bill at his funeral. And like many of you, I knew the paper was due down the road a little ways, so I waited till the last minute to do it, right? I waited till the last minute to think about what I was going to say at his funeral. And I was feeling a little stumped. And then I realized that I had this, his senior yearbook from Amherst College in 1943. Now, I accessed this book 70 years after it was produced. And I want you to think right now, what do you own? What do you have within 10 feet of you or somewhere in your bedroom that you're going to have in the year 2092? Think about that. I'm a grandson that had his grandfather's yearbook from 1943, 70 years later. Think about the work that you're doing right now, still being around, still being enjoyed by an audience 70 years from now in 2092. I went into the yearbook that night. He's there on the left-hand page, just below center. All right, William George Simmons, who was part of Delta Upsilon. Cross country, wrestling, track, band, that all makes sense. Choir, okay. Cheerleader? I'm sorry, what? My chemical engineering grandfather, a cheerleader? Yeah, there he is, second from the left on page 44 of his 1943 yearbook. I went into it and was able to learn about his history because of the time machine that is yearbook. So I want you to think about this and sit with this thought. Why be storytellers? Because your work and the impact that your work is going to have in sharing these stories in and beyond your community, it's going to matter for a long, long time. Good luck in all you do.